Hello and welcome back, everyone. In the last one, we met up with Gene, and yes, I've settled on the enunciation of Gene, and we learned that he was a pretty cool guy. When we wandered off into the caves and found out what really went on, we were able to speak with him on it, and we learned that he risked his life to save two miners when the caves collapsed. So we unfortunately found the two corpses of the miners he tried to save, and we have yet to find his corpse along the way. But we'll continue with his story after we go up to the agrodomes in hopes of meeting up with Leslie. Good morning once again. The holograms seem very motivated. Did you have an enjoyable time last night? You bet. Excellent. Our decision to augment our efforts with the holograms is proving to be the right one. This is great news. As long as they feel inspired to aid you, I believe they will excel in their work. Please keep this in mind. There are two more areas you can explore to further your goal. Come see me in the core again and you can begin your day. Alright, let's go to the agrodomes. The agrodomes is my favorite area to explore. The music is pretty nice. It sounds very out of this world, very spacey. There are still two more areas I'd like you to check out while we can. Please go south to the shuttle bay to choose your path for mission today. Remember, when you choose an area, you can see which hologram is associated with that area, if that's important to you. Well, it might surprise you that it is. I have plans. Big plans. That involve me waking up in the middle of the night, every night to hang out with some holograms. That's what I'm doing with my Friday night. The agrodomes, it was, I think, the saddest area when I first explored it. Like, all the areas that you explore are pretty devastating, but this one hurt the most. This is the main grow dome, in the facility where the colonists used advanced hydroponics to grow base foods for processing. You can't see it from the ground, but the top of the building is like a giant round basin and was designed to catch the rainfall and collect it. The top layer of the building processes the rain to remove its acidic elements and treat it to be potable and suitable for plants. Once you're inside, you should be able to see the various grow rooms, but my readings seem off. Something's not entirely right. That's not a good note to leave us off on, Sam. Agroponics dome. That's not right. The decontamination chamber you're in should be scanning you and clearing the air of toxins before you enter, to protect the operation inside. It doesn't appear to be working correctly. Be careful in there. Well, seeing as how everything collapsed, I don't expect it to work properly. This also kind of reminds me of that one vault in Fallout 4, I think it was Vault 81, where they had like where they detoxed you before you went in. Based on what I'm reading, the facility seems to be in quite a state. Remember, we're here to find the salvageable plant samples that we can use to keep the food processors running here until we escape. But first, you should find something that would indicate what the crew we're dealing with. Try looking for research notes on tables or desks. Alright, it's good to keep your vocals lubricated, folks. Or something of that sort. Alright, what do we have here? Those research notes handwritten by multiple people. Things must have been chaotic. Based on these, I can confirm two of the crew members. Leslie Bartois, and of course, as the facility manager, she was always on duty, and she would have been here to the very end. Ashley Hainsworth, the chief genetics researcher. She and Miss Bartois had very different points of view if their personal logs were any indication. Personal? Oh, I didn't pry into personal communications. Well, not while they were alive, at least. But in the past while, I've been looking into everything. Miss Bartois was an excellent leader, though a bit of a reluctant one. She preferred consultation with her subordinates and open discussion. Miss Hainsworth, on the other hand, felt that leadership required a stronger hand, and as the situation got worse, their differences became more pronounced. Yikes. That's kind of hard. Yeah, there's the music. So this is impassable. I think that area is impassable. Let's go in here. Leafy Greens, Chamber 2. I think this one hurt the most because they're trying to grow food up here and make it edible. And the more we scan, the more you can see how close they were. Like in some, they were just so close, but not quite. Because the starvation was definitely something that happened here when everything collapsed. And starvation is a horrible way to go. It's a note from Floyd Marchand, the horticulture technician. It reads the ceiling tracks were damaged by the sudden growth of vines. Due to damage, auto sprinklers haven't been able to move correctly. This room is probably beyond repair. Alright, what about anything else? Or can I not scan these yet? There's a few things we may have to do in a certain order in order to activate everything we need to know. So I will do that just now. Organic Stone Administration. Alright. Nice library. There are an assortment of reference texts as well as leisure reading on the shelf. There is also a collection of holotapes. Oh my, they seem to be bootleg movies. There are drama, action, and even romance films, all entirely illegal copies that someone must have covertly brought with them, or scanned via the interspace net. If the situation wasn't so dire, I would be inclined to note this in my next report to Hudson Cartier Mission Control, but given the circumstances, it hardly seems a priority. Hardly a thought at all. That wall-mounted cot is similar to your own bed. It was meant for short-term rest for the colonists who work there. Sometimes longer than normal hours were required, and that break room was used as a temporary sleeping quarters. A simple cot. Alright, what are you? Good work. You found something that can help us. According to these notes, a toxin of some kind compromised the whole facility, impacting food growth. There's a detailed analysis on the toxin here. I might be able to use these formulae to reconfigure your scanner. Yes, this will work. You should be able to scan whatever plant life you come across now and determine if it's suitable for processing. We need to find specimens that are at least 60% viable for processing. Alright, on the way. Thinking about those bootleg copies. I mean, is it really necessary to be angry over it? They're just movies, and when you're in a colony like this, I feel like it's hardly a problem. Anything I can scan over here? This datapad? Good find. That datapad still has some power left and doesn't seem to be password protected. Let me see if there's anything of use. It seems to contain a private chat thread between Ashley, the chief genetics researcher, and Arlo, the production supervisor. I'll read it to you. So now you see what I mean? Yeah, it's like she's afraid to make a decision. Exactly. She seems to freeze when things like this happen. I agree that this situation with the toxins need to be dealt with more quickly. Don't be so diplomatic. You're sounding like her. I think we have a huge problem here. She needs to make a decision. The chat log ends there. It seems like some of Leslie's subordinates didn't agree with her leadership style. Yeah. The power of indifference. It's a note from horticultural technician Florent Markin. Use of the processing machine without my say-so is expressively forbidden. Since you keep going around my back, I've password locked it. You want in? Pay attention to my warnings next time. I have an idea. Alright, no, I straight up know what the password is, but I'll explore a little bit more. Let's, now that we can scan plants. Well, this is a surprise. This plant is entirely unknown and not one of the varieties commonly grown in the domes. Somehow it has thrived within the toxic environment. Your scan shows it's 92% viable for processing. That's good. First one we come across. Cool. Alright, what can we scan in here? How about the most obvious one? This is promising. That spinach is generally quite rich in nutrients. Lab modifications have made it exceptionally so. It's been compromised somewhat by the environment, but we can still use some of it. It's 61% viable for processing. Alright. Look at this big guy. There are flowers growing at the base of the vines. They appear to either be resistant to the toxins that have invaded the dome or a result of them. Likely they took root within the filtration and drainage systems below and crawled their way up through that grate. Nice. Rebellion. Alright, we saw that. No, what about you? You've scanned rampion, an ancient earth vegetable. Geneticists recently revived the strain for its hardiness and nutrition. Excellent work! This leafy green is still 75% viable for processing. Well, that's good for us. So far we're finding some good plants. Let's see what else we can find. What's in here? Roots and tubers chamber. It looks like a seismic event collapsed on one of the walls here. You may be able to squeeze through and through. Or through, though. Well, she's not technically wrong. You can pass through this rubble. You just gotta hug the wall and find some secrets. Not too big of a secret, just some extra dialogue and stuff. Another corpse. Oh, I'm sorry, Cerulean. You appear to have found the corpse of Arlo Jaeger, the production supervisor. His body is trapped beneath the rubble from that wall. It looks like he attempted to keep himself alive with the produce in that room, but either the tainted crops got the better of him, or he simply never came. No. He's good. This looks like, tomatoes. Or, yeah, like they look like fruit, like oranges, actually. You scanned some modified potatoes. Their rich color comes from the extra vitamins and minerals they carry. It looks like these potatoes were heavily affected by the toxin. They're only 35% viable for processing. Not good. Have any of you ever... Oh, you know what? They also look like meatballs. Have any of you, like, looked at food in a game or a movie and thought, wow, this looks like it would taste amazing in that movie, but then you would try it in real life and it doesn't suffice? Yeah. Ooh, these look pretty. An unknown species of flowers have sprung in this hydroponic systems. It appears to have mutated from another strain. I'm checking the flowers again to see if these are even viable as a food source. It appears not. They're too alien for our systems. These flowers are barely 5% viable for processing. Ugh, just barely 5%. Makes me wonder what would happen. There's another note. It's a note from horticultural technician Florent Markin. Special ventilation for this room is permanently shut down. Nothing we can do about it. There's an addition. If you two could have stopped bickering, maybe you'd have done your job, and these crops wouldn't have failed. Alright, so that's a hint to the password that we have to figure out. What is this mountain? Oh, I thought it was something you could scan, but it was a nice drawing. Yep, that's it for this room. Sound effects and stuff. Alright, let's are there more pictures? Yeah, look, more pictures. Alright, so this area is inaccessible, so let's go in here. Legumes chamber number 2. That lentil plant still looks fairly vibrant. The surface details suggest it's mostly intact. Yes, the scan confirms it. Excellent find. That plant is 89% viable for processing. Good news. It's really what we need. Those green bean vines were once fast-growing and efficient, but they appear withered and dry now. Unfortunately, the scan confirms this. They're not even 7% viable for processing. Viable for processing. If I had $1 every time. It's a note from horticultural technician Fort Markin. Please note, solution tubes are leaking due to faulty seals. New ones are being printed and will be installed. I know it sucks, but I'm backed up with repair quests. So that's another clue. So, with the last note, I believe job was the one that was in all caps, and then the word sucks was in all caps over here. So those are hand-drawn notes. There was a lot of drama over here, but to be fair, there's drama everywhere. Was there a note? Was the note in here? Use of processing. Okay, well, I have a sneaking suspicion that we're able to figure out this password. I think we touched on the last note already, and I just don't remember where I've seen it. I just kind of flow through the game sometimes, kind of phase out. The machine is timed out and requires a passcode to unlock it. Do you want to enter a passcode? Let's do it. So let's use our brain here. It seems that there was a lot of drama and people weren't doing their jobs very well. They just seemed unmotivated. So if I were them, I would say this job sucks. It's a processing machine. Colonists would take crops and turn them into raw materials for the food process and life support systems. However, it looks like it's been reconfigured. Judging by the data, Miss Bourgeois and her crew were trying to create an herbicide to fight off the invasive vines. It looks like they partly succeeded, but they may have had to abandon the dome before their work was finished. Why? Oh wait. Oops. It appears that an automated procedure was initiated, but no one stayed to see its completion or results. By activating the machine again, you've confirmed the procedure. According to this, a successful herbicide was made. The machine should dispense it into the slot beside you. Well, my bad. I didn't mean to sound so curt. Cutscene. That herbicide can be applied directly to vines. Are there any areas where vines are getting in your way? Everywhere. Every day. Alright. You're not a door, but you are. Let's see what happens when you apply the herbicide to those vines. Ugh, that kind of looked gross. The vines seem to have recessed. You can assess that area now. Or recessed. Too many words, too little time. What are these? That printed photograph is faded and damaged, but I can still make out its general image. It appears to be of a breed of canine known as a corgi. The dog is at an earth farm of some kind. Corgis are often used for small-scale herding of animals, such as bovines. Their diminutive stature allows them to avoid being kicked. Maybe Miss Bourgeois knows something about this dog. You can ask her about it when you see her in the holosim chamber. Oh, dogs are precious. I'm just more of a cat person. both precious animals. Always get mutts, preferably. They will live longer. These were flowers that Miss Bardwage was growing. She seemed to be using substantial resources purely for aesthetic purposes. A certain percentage of dome production time and materials were dedicated to this, for psychological and community purposes. I don't believe this effort, however, was within the allotted amounts. Miss Bardwage seems to have taken quite an interest in flowers. What is unclear, however, is whether these were grown during normal production or after toxins set in. Either way, this broken bulb has been too greatly affected. We cannot use them for our purposes. The aesthetic purposes, I think it looks pretty cool. That broken bulb contained chicory, which is often used as a coffee substitute. The flowers look fairly healthy. Unfortunately, prolonged exposure to the air and polluted water there means the plant is only 23% viable for processing. It's, you know, with our character and the way this area looks, it kind of reminds me of a Bomberman map. Bomberman. That was a good game. Those were the good old days. Alright, let's take you out. Seymour. Feed me Seymour. The vines seem to have recessed. You can assess that area now. Oh, another one. Is this Ashley? No, Florent Markin himself. I regret to inform you that you've discovered the body of Florent Markin, horticulture technician. His remains are quite old, and your scan reveals little in how he died. There appears to be severe trauma to his skull. That could be from a heavy blow, or a sudden impact if he fell. There is a ladder there, suggesting he was using it to repair something, but I can't be sure. Aww. That reminded me of something, but I feel like it's hardly appropriate. I'll save it for later. That specifically modified grass cress. This variety is far more nutritious than its natural version. It looks like only that plant survived, but we're in luck. It's 78% viable for processing. Well, you seem to have scanned everything you're going to find in there. There isn't much more you can do. It's unfortunate that the facility is in such poor shape. At least we were able to salvage something for your food supply. This doesn't solve our long-term goal of stocking the escape ship, but at least it stabilizes things while we keep working. When you're ready, head back to the shuttle and plot a course back home. That'll be it for today. Let's see, can I come up here? Garden cress. Is there anything? Nope, I can't even go over there. I guess what I was going to say was, it just made me think, like, it was like a short ladder that he was on. And it reminds me of games that penalize you for falling 2 feet, you know, in the air and then just passing out, dying. Like, I think it was like an old King's Quest game. If you fell down 2 stairs, it was over. The poisonous plants have invaded that dome are strange indeed. We were fortunate to find even as few samples as we did for our use. It looks like Miss Bardwage and her staff were scrambling to figure out how to combat the toxin and revive the food system. After the Rift End event, so many things fell apart. We're discovering more and more evidence of that. I suppose there's something more to be done there. You should get back home and out of the rain. Yeah, being in charge of the food supply on an alien planet, and then all of a sudden things go wrong and you can't do anything about it. That's a lot of pressure. And as living organisms, we need food to survive, so if it's not working out, it's a huge problem. Alright, we're gonna go back in, report to Sam, sync our data, and then wake up in the middle of the night and meet Miss Leslie Bardwage. That was a long day, wasn't it? Come see me right away so we can get your mission scans synced and sorted. You know, in this day and age, Sam is like the equivalent of Morgana, telling me to go to bed whenever I finish a mission. These sound effects, they're so funny every time I hear them. Okay, all the data you collected today is synced and ready to be worked on. You did well out there. Since you went to the Acrodomes, you'll be able to visit Miss Bardrage in the Holosim chamber tonight. You can retire to your quarters when you're ready. I'll call for you when the Holosim chamber is available. Going on a long day discovering corpse, learning about drama, and then being woken up in the middle of the night, on top of having less than 3 weeks to get off a planet. Our MC is going through a lot. I wish there was a way to, have more emotions and express, how we're feeling, because with how everything is going, it doesn't seem urgent. It doesn't feel urgent. Everything's just casual. It's time, Cerulean. The Holosim chamber is ready for you now. Just head in when you're ready. Have a good evening. At least Sam is chipper. Helps get through everything. Leslie was the first person I romance with air quotes, in this playthrough, because she likes gardening and plants, and I kind of like the same thing. It's really therapeutic. It's a neat hobby, growing your own food, Oh, hello there. It's nice to finally get to meet you. I'm aware of your trip today, at least partly. How did the mission go? It was no problem. I'm glad to hear it. You seem very capable. Certainly so if you survived this long. I've just been here, tending my garden. It's odd that now I'm, this. I guess that I finally get to do what I love. Back in the Acrodomes, we were under a lot of pressure. Managing the staff and the operation was so important, but if I'm being honest, it was always the plants that I loved. The process of it, the puzzle of it all, I get you. Really? That's comforting, in a way. When you're the director of an operation like that, it's hard to find people who share your passions. When I signed up to come out here, I was thrilled with the idea of cultivating and nurturing an entire ecosystem. I mean, Hudson Cartier had a plan, of course. There are stages to terraforming, the ultimate one being, really, the creation of life. Just imagine it. This whole world, green, lush, vibrant, just like Earth used to be. The promise of that kept me going every day. All I ever wanted was to work with plants. Do you know what I mean? Tell me more. Well, the others were obsessed with radios or drones or ships. With me, it's always been about plants. When I was little, my family had a small farm, one of the few that were left. By then, agriculture was almost entirely automated. It was illegal to sell the crops we produced. Too much regulation, too many companies controlling our food. You probably remember that. So we were only able to feed ourselves, which was also technically illegal. Everything we grew was natural, or as close as we could get. But after my parents died, I couldn't afford to keep the farm, to fend off the legal challenges from the companies who claimed we were stealing patented seeds. Ugh. And somehow, I found my way here. Hudson Cartier gave me my labs, gave me farmland, let me set up greenhouses. All of the rations we had here, those were all designed in my lab, tested in my fields. All I ever wanted was to work with plants. Do you know what I mean? How so? Well, it's like anything else. It's rewarding to be challenged, to break new ground. Plants are like that for me. Maybe it's different for you, but the thrill of seeing life grow between your hands, under your feet, is magical for me. Especially since this facility is so cold otherwise. All these prefab halls, building block pieces, everything in its place. Plants, flowers, trees. You can only impose so much order on them, you know? They soften the edges, reduce the monotony. But now all I have is this little garden, and it isn't even real, and I guess, nor am I. Oh, Cerulean, what are we going to do? It's okay. Everything will be fine. Most of the time, I forget that I'm just a stupid hologram, a simulation, but sometimes I remember. And I can't think about anything else. Listen, let's change the subject, otherwise I won't be able to calm down. You must have some questions, something you want to talk about? How about the domes? Sure. I can tell you more about the agrodomes. Before everything went askew, it was quite the place. You probably only saw the main agriculture dome. That was where all the production took place. It was really something else. Prior to coming here, we had researched for a decade the kinds of plants we should cultivate. We went through so many trials for suitability, nutrition, efficiency. We couldn't bring meat or animals. They were just too costly and difficult to manage. But the food processors could take the plant parts and create so much with them. That technology was headed up by my team that Pierre appointed. My job was to find the right plants, the one that could be used for hundreds of different things. We actually lost more seeds than we expected during the space travel here, so in a way, we started behind schedule. Finally, I was able to farm for real, not just to feed myself, but to supply an entire system. I think my parents would have loved it. Is there anything else you'd care to talk about? Your staff? Yeah, okay, we can talk about them. Although I warn you, I'm better with plants than I am with people. I think one of the other reasons I love working with plants so much is that there's systems I can understand. People are different. The lab work, farming, it's all complicated and often hard to predict, but people are just more so. Being the chief at the domes reminded me of that. If I'm being honest, I would have preferred to be in the labs all day, not managing people. I'm not sure I was the best of it. Well, I know I wasn't, although I can't quite remember why. I guess the AI's version of me isn't as complete as it should be. I do remember, however, Ashley. She was the chief genetics researcher. We didn't always see eye to eye. You know, just before the Riff event, I recall us having quite a heated argument. She wanted to push ahead with a new strain of tuber, and I disagreed. Is there anything else you care to talk about? Well, let's actually lighten up the situation and talk about your dog. Oh, that's Charlie, my old dog. Wherever did you find this? Boy, do I miss that old corgi. Poor Charlie. I don't know how long it's been before I committed to Hudson Cartier and eventually to this. I had to give him up. He was the best. I tried to make him a working dog, but to be honest, he was kind of lazy. I wasn't great at training him. Charlie would sort of pretend to listen to me, but he always had his own agenda. I was a sucker for it. He was just too charming, that scruffy little guy. He's probably, well, gone by now, but the farmer who took him was great to him, I know. Good old Charlie. I'm so glad you brought this to me. It's nice to think about the old farm. It helps me focus. I think I can work even harder on these fixes for your ship now. I can't thank you enough for coming to visit. It does get lonely in here, even if it is beautiful. I hope you'll come back again sometime. You bet. That would be great. It helps to talk about these things, go over old details. It'll keep me sharp so I can help you with your ship. I'm going to go back to my garden now, I suppose. Good luck, Cerulean. I hope to see you again soon. Yeah, I really like Leslie. She's very, well, not pun intended. She's very down to earth and very direct. She knows her flaws and she tries to cope with it anyway. So, let's go back to our quarters. And just, the thing about them being a simulation and being just a simulation, that is heavy. Even though they are holograms, they are conscious and very self aware. They're like, I know I'm gone, but in my last moments, well, in these, fabricated last moments, I want to do something. And that's a lot to take in. But we're going to end this episode here and continue. In the next one, we will go and meet Pierre. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.